Here's my new project, a 2013 27-foot Winnebago Vista. So first I'll go over what I did, and then I'll go over how I did it for those that care. So I added solar. It's 3,200 watts of solar and over 15,000 watt hours of batteries. Here's the inverter, charge inverter for the generator and shore power, and the batteries. So this is with everything running right now. If we just take a look, I can see solar's only pulling in 400 watts, but the sun is kind of behind trees right now at a low angle. It's still early, and camper's only using 40 watts of power. I'm not plugged into shore power right now. There's no generator. This chill cube is super quiet. Everything works. So next I'll go over up on the roof and I'll show you how I attached everything. Alright, so here's my plan for mounting the solar panels. Trying to go in the order that I came up with everything. So first limitation, I replaced the air conditioner with the Furrion chill cube for efficiency and noise. So I had to take the width of that and then come off center from the center of the camper and mount my first set of rails, the two center base rails. So I chalked a line going all the way down the camper from these marks. I measured off the front and back, chalk lined it all the way down left and right of each one, then put down masking tape on either side of this chalk line on the outsides. And then I cleaned the channel that was left over with special alcohol made for vehicles. And then I cleaned the bottom of the channel strut, applied, this is the very high bond double-sided tape, so I applied that to the back side of the channel, dropped it in place. These are 1.5 inch number 8 self-tapping screws and a 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch bonded neoprene to stainless steel washer. So I did those every third hole. Down the full length, I didn't hit anything on these middle struts besides the fiberglass and plywood. On the outside here, I did manage to hit the frame or something, aluminum, something made out of aluminum. I could tell. I hit it, pulled it up, and I found a strip of aluminum attached to the self-tapping screw. So I felt that popping through when I hit all of these going down. So the outsides are very well attached. Insides, I've seen where people have done this setup with just the very high bond tape, and they drove around the country with it without the screws, without making any holes in the roof, and that worked for them. I also cleaned the edges one more time with the alcohol and then laid a bead of self-leveling Dicor going all the way around to prevent water from going in and messing up the adherence of the tape. So on the front and back, I left these going full length because I want to mount the Starlink Mini here. So I want some extra rails left over so I can get full sky access. These panels are going to come to this face right here, going all the way across. On the outside, I was limited by where the shower vent is. So I peeled up this Dicor lap sealant that goes around, and then took up these brackets that hold the corners down and cut the bracket short because it used to go over here and it would have been in the way of my rails. So I cut those down and then reattached them. So the rails are sitting right up against the flange of this plastic shroud. So that's as close to the inside as I could get. You can see the radius, you should probably see it on camera, kind of starts right here, so it's about a 1/4 inch after the channel strut. So it's still sitting on the flat part of the roof. It's not perfectly flat. There is a slight curve to it, so I took a level from where I knew these had to be based on the width of the AC unit, and then held my level over to find level and measured down, and I believe this was 1 7/8. So it'll be different for other campers depending on how far out you have to go, whatever else is in your way, because these didn't have to go this far out. They could have gone here if something was mounted too close to the edge. So then on the other side, nothing was in my way. I just matched, so it's symmetrical. I replaced both of these vents with just manual hand crank ones. The ones that were there were electric, so you hit the button and it goes up, but it would hit the bottom of the panels. You can kind of tell here. So it doesn't hit the frame. These actually wound up. I made sure they wound up inside the body of a panel, so it can open up about 4 inches. I can't get my phone low enough to be able to tell, but it does actually open a lot. And with them open as much as they can go, there's plenty of airflow. This was where the antenna was. I removed that, covered it. What's next? There was a space here. I had to bridge this gap with a couple scrap pieces. Oh, okay, so I wasn't going to do crossbars. I thought with the panels attached like this, there would be enough lateral support to prevent these from wobbling. But I had some scrap, so I put this one on. And this is, I don't know if you can tell, if I try to hold the phone still while I shake this thing, I'm shaking myself. So that doesn't move at all. Now this is attached really well to right here where there is no lateral support. You can see it does wobble. So this makes a major difference. So there's 2 full runs from front to back. There's this full 10-foot piece that ends here, and then another 10-foot piece there. This is a 27-foot camper. So at the beginning and end of each 10-foot piece, I'm going to have these crossbars. So there will be another one here and there. And that's going to connect the middle and then the outside. As far as bracketing goes, I had to make everything myself. I couldn't find anything that I trusted. So these vertical supports is just more channel strut that I cut. This was a 4-foot long piece of 1/4 inch by 2 inch channel, or L bracket bar, no, L bar stock, that I cut down to the exact width, 1 5/8, yeah, 1 5/8. So that's an L, and then here's another L. And then I drilled the 1/4 inch holes for these stainless screws. Those are 1/4-20 screws, button heads, I thought, just for airflow. These look nice and aerodynamic. They all do have a washer, a lock washer, and then the bonded neoprene to stainless. So the neoprene prevents the stainless from making contact with the aluminum everywhere. There's no contact, so there won't be any weird oxidation. There's no steel up here, so nothing will rust. The aluminum, it does cost twice as much as the steel, the Galvi, but it's also half the weight. And that mattered more. I don't remember the weight of everything. These are the rest of the panels. So I've got, the AC happens to be right in the middle of the camper. So I've got 2 200s behind it, 2 200s in front. So that's 4 200s. And then on the left and right, I've got a row of 4 300s on either side. So I've got 3.2 kilowatts up here on a 27-foot camper without going over the AC units. I was considering getting a 48-volt AC because they're only 8 inches tall instead of this being 14.5. So I could have gone over the AC unit and gotten a little bit more. I also could have gotten quite a bit more if I wanted to come all the way forward. I could have actually gone over this front cap a bit. I probably could have gotten another 600 watts on here, but I did want to leave room for mounting anything else I might need that needs sky access. And then same thing in the back. I've got this extended, so the back of the panel will end right here, and then there's about 16 inches exposed in the back in case I need to mount anything else here. Mounting everything together, I've got these channel lock nuts that just drop in and turn. There are cheaper ways to do these, but since I was never 100% on how this would all go together, these are nice and easy to drop in and out. I did use Loctite on all the framing. I'm not going to use it when I attached the panels to the bars, but I did use it on the framing itself. I had some that I had to take out using a map gas torch. One of those. You hold it on for about 15 seconds and then it comes right out. Once the Loctite is liquefied, it acts like lube, and it's easier to get it out than it is to get the bolt in. Here's the difference in height. That's that 1 7/8, where this one is higher than the rail's closer to the middle. There's no gap on that one. I noticed the black die core, non-leveling die core, is actually quite a bit thicker, and it sticks better than the white. I accidentally ordered some black, ran out of the white, wound up using it. I would have preferred to use black all the way inside the channel if I had to do this again. I trust it more. But when I screwed through, I just put a huge glob covering the slot and then use the self-tapping screw to just go right through. That might be everything. All right, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. The sun is just now coming up over the trees. So here is how I have it all set up. I have these 3 batteries. I knocked a hole under the bed. So these 3 batteries are 100 amp hour, 48 volt, which is actually 51.2 volt, and lithium iron phosphate. I've got these bus bars on the sides. I built the frame using more of the channel, the aluminum channel, screwed into the top and bottom. These batteries fit in there perfectly. That was fortunate. I have all of these communication cat cables connecting them so they can all communicate. And then I have one communication cable that comes out over to the charge inverter. So we can see the batteries are at 90% right now. And then another communication cable comes down here and goes into this inverter. So this can also see the battery percentage. And so right now the solar is only pulling 460 watts and the camper is not really using anything, 0.03 kilowatts. So some of the modifications I made, starting over here. This is unrelated to the solar, but I did get one of these filters and one of these water meters so I can see how much water goes through the filter, so I know when to change them out, and also how full my water tank is, since I can't see it from this side as I fill it up. So this is the surge protector that came built into the camper. I think the previous owner had added it. So the way it used to work was you would take this cord, drop it down through the hole, and plug it into shore power. This is a 30 amp camper, so it's a 30 amp connector. Then this went straight into the surge protector, like it still is, and then coming out, these cables went straight to the breaker panel. So I had to jump in there and make them go to the batteries instead. So I've got the cables coming out and they go up into this junction box that I added. I was gonna have a switch on there and there just wasn't enough room to wire 3 different cables in. So this one goes to the breaker panel. So this one used to be connected under here and I had to put it into the box instead. Then the power that comes out of the surge protector goes into the box, and it connects to one of these cables that goes over to the plug-in side, and then the power that comes back from the inverter, which is connected to the batteries, comes back in here and goes out this way. And then underneath, oh yes, the generator plug. So the generator plug used to be mounted back there. So when the generator, which is right here, well, it's locked, but it's under there. When the generator turned on, you could take this and plug it into the generator plug that was over there. That I didn't like that for a couple reasons. So I guess I'll get to that underneath. So I had to add a junction box right here. So now the generator sends power out to this box here, and I have that coming out up at the top, and it goes over toward the charge diverter. And then, let's see. So I added this one and this one. This also comes over from the batteries. So I've got that one wire that went that way, and then another one comes back this way and then goes into the breaker panel. So my plan was going to be to have the generator power come over and go in here, because there is a spot for the generator to be plugged, and there's a generator breaker. So this can work in such a way that if the battery percentage gets down too low, say 20% or 10%, you can program it to whatever, it automatically turns on the generator to charge the batteries back up. I didn't really want that happening because I have so much solar. I don't need it wasting gas running the generator, and I wanted more control over it than just leaving it up to this, since it's such a rare case scenario. So instead I ran the generator over to this plug. The other reason is this is not a sine wave generator, so that can interrupt the sensitive electrical components of the computers that are built in here. So I can't run that type of generator into this anyway without first running it through a charge diverter. So this creates an inverted sine wave, and this would then allow me to run it through here, but at that point it didn't make sense to, because of the way neutral ground bonds are required to work. So I just had to run this directly. It does a little loopy thing, and then it plugs directly into the battery bus bar. So when I turn the generator on, I can take this plug, which goes to the charge diverter, and connect it to the generator, and the generator will then be just charging the batteries. If I want to plug into shore power instead, I would just plug in right here. And anytime I plug into shore power, it would go through the charge diverter and charge the batteries. If I'm not using it, I just leave it unplugged. I could just leave it plugged into the shore power all the time, since that's the only one I use, and parked under trees in the shade, all I need is 20 amps to keep the batteries topped up. So I can just use a normal extension cord to run this whole camper, combined with the solar panels. Now the reason I didn't run the generator, or I couldn't run the generator into this inverter, is because for every residential electrical system, you're required to have a single neutral ground bond, and normally that's going to be in your breaker panel at your house. So if you have a second box out at a garage, that has to be fed from the breaker panel in your house, and then it will not have a neutral ground bond in that panel. So you're only supposed to have one. The way a camper normally works is you would go plug into the shore power out of the campground. So the campground will have the neutral ground bond and the camper will not. So it's going to be the campground or your house, if you plug in at your house, that's going to be taking care of that ground bond. Since I'm putting on solar panels and I'm going to be running the 110 volt appliances without plugging into an external shore power, I won't have a ground bond, since the breaker panel in the camper doesn't normally have one. So people that set up for long-term boondocking will have to add a manual ground bond to their breaker panel to keep things safe and operating properly. The way that you get around that with this system is I would have to go through these settings every time I connect to shore power and manually disable the neutral ground bond within this system. And then anytime I want to run boondocking like I am here at the house, where I'm just running off the solar, I would have to re-enable the ground bond. I didn't like that idea, and I found out this completely bypasses that. So if I run the shore power through this plug and then plug in the charge diverter and charge the batteries directly off the inverter, or the charge diverter, I don't need the ground bond at all. I'm just going to leave it on in here. So this always has the ground bond enabled, and that's taking care of me. If we turn all of these batteries on, we can see what they're saying. So they're showing 90%, 92, 90. The sun is just now coming out, so that's about as low as it gets every day. And then within a couple hours, it should be back up at 99%. Here I can set my float voltage. So right now I'm running at a float voltage of 54 volts. If I wanted to quickly charge this thing, I could bump it up to 56.2 volts just with these settings buttons. I don't ever need to charge it up real quick. It charges pretty quick on its own. And then here I can set the current. So if I go down, since I only ever use the 20 amp extension cord, I have it set to only pull 16 amps, but I could change that if I wanted. If I plugged it into a 30 amp instead, I could bump this up to say 27 amps. So now when I plug into the shore power plug, this will be pulling 27 amps to charge the batteries. So let's put this back to 17 is fine. That way I don't pop any breakers. What else? This is the Wi-Fi dongle that came with this inverter. This was an important page to print out, page 60 of the user manual for this thing. It just goes through the proper startup and shutdown procedure, which I would never memorize since I never turn it on or off. So I just put some Velcro on here and stuck it there. And then same thing up here, these batteries have to be turned on and off in a very specific order. This is like battery number 1. You set the ID with these dip switches here. So you can see that's set to number 1, and then this one is set to number 2, and 1 and 2 on is 3 in this binary. What else? I think that's everything in here. Not really anything else to go over. I guess I have this, I didn't have anywhere nice to mount that, but that's the lightning arrestor for the solar panel. So if something does get hit by lightning, it'll pop that instead of ruining this. All of my solar cables come in right here. They're really thin, so they don't really need a whole lot. Oh, I do have, if you can see that gray coil back there, that's for the Starlink. So I have the Starlink Mini, if I can, oh, right here. So let me get in here. So this is the plug for the Starlink Mini. Normally this would plug into that AC to DC adapter. It's just a little barrel plug. So I bought this barrel plug for like $2 off Amazon, and it just goes to like these pigtail things, and I crimped on the connectors. So I've got one right here, plugged directly into the bus bar, and then there's another one over there on the negative side. So that's just feeding these 52 volts directly to the Starlink, which is way more efficient than running my battery power through a converter over to AC, and then from the inverter back over to DC. I got that backwards. But you're going to lose roughly 4 to 10% of your electricity when you convert and then invert. This way, it's just everything that I could run directly off the 48 volt system would be the most efficient way to go. The only problem is I don't have a way to monitor how much is going out since it's not going through the brains of this system. But Starlink Mini only pulls 7 to 10 watts, I think. So it's not worth even considering. So that way the Starlink is just on all the time. I don't think I can get high enough to see it. Oh, yes I can. Okay. So there it is. It's mounted on the very front of that channel. Can you see the holes? Okay, so I ran the cord all the way to the back. Maybe I'll get the ladder. Yeah, I'll get the ladder up there and I'll show you how I Ran the cables through the glands. Okay, here we are up on the roof. So here are the two glands. This one is for the solar that goes in, and then this one's for the Starlink. I don't think there's really anything else to show up here. I've collected one stick. We've gone on quite a few trips with this. Well, 2 trips. One of them I think was a 4-hour drive, and the other one not too far, half an hour or so. These things, like oxidized grain, those are aluminum. Thought that was interesting. But everything is still really sturdy. Nothing moves. I do hear a little bit of a whistling in the front. All of this stuff is holding up really well. There's no chance that's ever going to come off. So, yeah, I think that's it up here. Not much to look at. I think the other video really covered it, the first part. So I can go inside, show where the holes come through, what I changed in there. This camper didn't come with a ladder, so I had to get one of these extendable telescopic ones. Get all the lights on. They're everywhere. Okay. So here's the hole that goes down into the back. There are the batteries. If I lift up the bed, there's the top of the batteries and my bracket so it doesn't move. I've got a bracket on each side of the back so it can't slide forward if I slam the brakes on. So I cut this door out. Also, I'm going to cut this bar out since I don't need it anymore, since I have the metal bars as supports. So I can cut all of this out and I'll be able to fit 20-foot lumber or PVC in here straight from the back, which might be useful. This is cut, so it just fits right there into the hole. The gland holes come out in here. So this is the internet. So there's my Starlink cable. It comes out, goes over there. And that one straight up top, there's the solar panels. It comes straight down. So they both come down this way. And they go straight down there, through this closet. They go behind these drawers, probably can't see in there. And then they go straight down back. I've replaced this. This one detects carbon monoxide as well as propane, which is good. The exhaust for this thing is right there. So that's good to have if somebody leaves the door open while the engine's running. I added this, so without turning the car on, I can flip that, and I've got this thing. So I do have Android Auto on here. I have it set for only when my phone's plugged in, so it's not going to work right now without my phone plugged in. Here's the USB for that. This was pretty easy to set up. This is a 2013 Winnebago Vista, so it only had the old style radio. I left it underneath here in case I ever want to pop it back in. This is just for the reverse camera. This has a motorized turning thing, which is actually not useful at all. I did set it up though, so I downloaded the app for the batteries in the back and the solar. And the Starlink right now which is mounted directly up there. I have set to the $5 a month. What is it? Kind of like the pause subscription. You get like half a megabit up and download, which happens to be enough for the system to run. So I can actually see right now from in here that the panels are pulling in. Holy cow, why won't that focus? Oh, there we go. The panels are pulling in 580 watts and the camper's using 80 watts. Probably just because I have some 12-volt lights and stuff on, so the converter's running. The inverter, I always mix those up. And then 400 watts going to the batteries. So this is kind of nice to see inside. I can see it from my phone from anywhere too. Oh, that's my battery. Or my tire pressure. One of my tire pressures is low. So I got this TPS tire pressure monitoring system you put on all the caps. Since I've got so many tires, it's nice to see. It's solar powered and it beeps like that when the pressure gets low. This, even when it's really hot outside, we stayed in here when it was 90 something out. This is super quiet. You can barely hear it. It's quieter than the engine, and the engine of this thing is surprisingly quiet. I had to replace these vents, these fans. The one that was in here was a good one, but it was motorized, so you just push the on button and the thing goes and it opens up, and it would have hit the solar panels. So I had to replace this one and the one in the bathroom with a manual one that I just turn. Just fine by me. It opens up 4 inches, and this lets me go in both directions at multiple speeds. So if I want this one pulling in, actually we'll go out. So that's as loud as that gets. And then I can open up a window back here. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it's sucking in quite a bit of air through the window now. So we get some good circulation that way. And then I did the same thing here in the bathroom. I installed the same one. This is an interesting floor plan because the shower is kind of open until you swing this door open. And the springs in the door just kind of keep it held open. So now whoever is using the bathroom has access to bathroom, shower, and wardrobe. So I actually kind of like it. For a 27-foot camper, this is kind of the biggest bathroom you can get now. All right, and then the last few things. I replaced the switch for the water heater with a pilot light so I can tell when the water heater's on. That's using electrical. If I want to use propane, I do have the switch over here to use propane. We always use propane for the heated stuff. So the water heater, the stove, and the oven are all running on propane. We haven't even refilled it yet. It just seems to last forever. We run the fridge on propane if it's cloudy out. Like now it's really cloudy, so I would just have it on propane, but when it's sunny we can swap it over to run on electric. This is not efficient. I might get a 48-volt small like cooler fridge, like a portable fridge, so that we can keep that in here and run that on electric constantly. Let's see, what else did I do in here? I was thinking about updating these batteries, but I haven't yet. So this is what came with the camper. I don't know if these are probably not original, but they are old. So these are the 2 house batteries. Everything in the camper, well, the lights, the water pump, that's pretty much it, I think, runs off of this 12-volt system. Oh, and the jacks and the slide. Those keep topped up with the converter breaker here. So this is fed from the batteries. So this is one of those inefficient things where the power comes in from the solar panels, goes down through the inverter thing, but it goes to the batteries, and then it goes back through the inverter and it comes out as AC to run the breaker panel. then it goes back through the converter to charge these batteries. So it would be more efficient to use a 48 volt to 12 volt buck converter to go from my lithium batteries directly to these house batteries. And I can also I would be able to charge the chassis battery off the buck converter as well if I wanted to. The problem with that is it's just one more system that I would have to remove from like original stock, and for the amount of efficiency I would gain from it, I don't think it's worth it. I'd have to remove the converter from this, and I've tried to take this apart before. They didn't make it easy to get to. I'm not even sure if I can remove the converter. I would have to keep this breaker off, which also runs the fridge for some reason. So I haven't messed with this part. That is the way it is. Oh, something else. Put this stuff everywhere. This made so much noise when we were driving. This, what is it, neoprene foam or something? Adhesive on one side. I put that on every single cabinet, everything that makes noise. So everything's silent now. I added this. So now the door can be held open because that's not stock for some reason. There was no quick connect for a griddle, so this went straight to this pipe, so I had to add all of this so that I could add my quick connect fitting here. So now I can just reach up underneath and pop in this hose so I can run the griddle. This one we keep all of our chairs in. Here's a water tank. I thought this was kind of interesting. You can actually see the water tank in here. And the pump. So cleaning the filter for the pump is easy. You can just maintain it or replace it right here. And then actually flushing. All the drains are here. I have access to all the shutoffs and open valves. The sun completely disappeared. It's been 3 hours since that last video I was over here. So it's 3 hours of clouds, and we went from 90 to 97%. This thing is amazing. This griddle is also my new favorite griddle. I had the, I don't know what it was, 27-inch Blackstone. So this one has a handle. The last one didn't have a handle. And it has leveling feet. I know I'm getting off topic here with camping, but it's not like I'm gonna make another video for the accessories. So I'm just gonna toss it in here. Spatula, griddle. Nothing sticks to this thing. It's not cast iron like the last one, so you have to be really careful with it. Yeah, but I like it. Nice and portable. So my quick connect connects there, and if I ever get the little single burner, it actually comes with a second quick connect, so I can extend it and plug something else in. Around back, we have all the tools, water hoses, septic pipes. These are traffic cones that stand up. Oil pump for changing oil. I added this septic caddy thing because I don't know why these don't come standard. In this one I've got the ladder, and behind the ladder I have inflatable sup boards, stand-up paddle boards. So this thing's like a full-on adventure vehicle now. Alright, so that's it. If you have any questions, I guess, let me know. I think I got everything right, but it has been a couple months now, maybe 3 or 4 months since I actually did all this work. So I could have been wrong about a couple things. This porch light, I forgot. I added this. So if you turn it on once, it's a bright white light. if you turn it off and back on, it's a really dim yellow light. I thought that was kind of cool. But that's all.